And man, I love when people ask you about your Laker days because you have some amazing stories. So now that I got the microphone, I want to ask you, tell us about what it was like with those Laker teams.
Yeah, that was with Phil Jackson, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal. That's three of the greatest, basketball people that ever lived. So we're talking about, some historical figures to have been around, and then Tex Winter, the inventor of the triangle. So in terms of like basketball history, these are four like big time people in their individual categories and three Hall of Famers. I think four now. I think they put Tex in as well. So it was an experience that's hard to explain. There are a lot of stories I can tell. There's a lot I can't tell, but
You need to write a book before you go. We'll publish it. Yeah.
So great times, great memories. I still talk to all those guys, actually, all three of those guys, and Rick Fox, Robert Ory, Derek Fisher, Mark Madsen. So I still see and talk to all those guys.
Nice. Yeah. Who's your favorite teammate?
Shaq, by far.
Shaq.
Yeah, but he's my favorite teammate of all time. I played on a number of teams professionally for 11 years. So in the NBA, he was by far my favorite. He's just a big kid. He doesn't want to do anything but laugh. Like he wants to win, but he'd like to laugh along the way. If he could have it both ways, he would have fun for 3 quarters and then he would score 25 in the fourth and we'd win.
Yeah.
So that's part of what made him great, but he was by far the best teammate.
That's cool. What do you think made that team special? Winning the championship and kind of that.
Well, surrendered. I think everybody surrendered to the triangle. So Phil's vision for a system-dominated team where the players bought in completely, I would say, was the key there. It didn't become personal between anybody and Phil at that point, right? It's all about the system. So he could also defer and push any kind of conflict onto the system. So that allowed relationships to maintain, and then you became a rebel of the system rather than a rebel against Phil. So then it became acceptable for him to play guys like me who were high skilled, high intelligence, because I was surrendered to the system as well. So it was about what was best for the system and best for the team. And that team, and he's said it before, executed the triangle better than any other team he ever coached. So it was a full surrender. There was a lot of older guys too that maybe couldn't venture outside of those principles, but technically speaking, we had a balance at every niche that's necessary to win in the NBA. We had great defense, we had great size, we had 2 dominant superstars, we had shooting, we had intelligence, we had buy-in all the way, and we had great game plans. So it's a long season in the NBA. You've got to be able to understand that it's a journey and that you're going to trek slowly at times, and other times you're gonna go too fast, but you don't want to move too quickly and you don't want to move too slowly. You want to kind of stay even keel, and then it isn't how many points you score; it's when you score them. And again, that's more buy-in into that idea.
Yeah. So that obviously is one thing that I think made Phil great.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say? That just because that was the next thing. I was just curious, having you played for a ton of coaches, but having someone like Phil Jackson, you think that was his biggest strength as a coach?
Yeah, he understood the player, right? He understood his system, and he understood how to adapt his system to the player. So he adapted it to the Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen in that era with Rodman. He also adapted it without them. Jordan didn't play with them, and they still made the Eastern Conference Finals. But he brings Shaq in, which is a completely different piece that goes in there. And then you have Kobe, who's desire to want to just take the game at moments when it wasn't necessary, just wanting to show how good he really was. That was a challenge, for him to be able to pull that back. And so, that's the gift of Phil Jackson's gift was not only his knowledge of what was necessary, but understanding the pieces that went into it, and then the ability to communicate clearly on a daily basis what those goals were. so everybody understood where we were going,
Yeah.
and that it was about the team. Only it was said.